Good evening and welcome to the 7 p.m. Fincom committee meeting on May 12th. This meeting is being held virtually through Zoom. The town of Littleton began conducting remote participation in Zoom meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law on March 19th, 2020. Since that time, unanticipated legal concerns relating to the open meeting law have been brought to our attention by the town clerk. Those concerns were supported by the Attorney General's office and confirmed by town council. One concern is that the chat function allows a parallel text conversation to a board's public meeting. Chat is essentially running commentary that is occurring, but is not moderated or followed by the chair. All participants and listeners may not be aware of comments being made because some meeting participants join by phone and do not see these conversations. Another concern is conversations between residents within the chat room, which are not incorporated into public record. In response to these concerns, the town will implement the following changes, which in no way prohibit any member of the public from participating in discussion and sharing information during a public meeting, and will ensure that all listeners and participants have equal access to this meeting. First, people that join the Zoom meeting are set to their microphones so that they are muted. If you called in by phone, please use *6 to mute or unmute your phone so that the meeting can occur in an orderly fashion. We ask that people who join keep their microphones on mute so background noises do not interfere with the meeting. Next, if you wish to participate in the meeting, please use the raise your hand function available on Zoom, or if you called in by phone, dial *9, which will activate the raise your hand function. Next, the meeting host will notify the chairperson of the raised hands, and the chairperson will determine whether and when to allow public comment. When called upon, participants should unmute, then state their name and address. After speaking, we request the participant return their microphone back to mute. So once again, welcome. It's been a while since the Fincom met independently of Board of Selectmen, so it's probably time that we did this as we were getting close to our town meeting and potentially voting on our budget for 2021. So tonight's agenda we're going to go over will be a finance director update with Cheryl. Our S&P rating, Standard & Poor's came out last week. We're going to discuss that a little bit. We're going to talk about the scenario in which either we can't have a town meeting, if that scenario presents itself, and what's it mean if we can't vote on a budget for as a town for 2021. We will discuss as a group the finance committee, finalize the finance committee report. I'll just vote on that to see if we have any edits or anything we want to change to that, which will become part of the our booklet that goes out to all residents. We will then get into the real important stuff, the warrant article recommendations. We will just be voting on the finance articles like we do every year, and any discussion that we need to have regarding those. I would say if we can't come to an agreement on some of those articles, or if there's more information we need, or if someone's uncomfortable voting, we will have the opportunity to wait till Monday if necessary. I don't know if that'll happen tonight, but if that is the case, we do have a joint meeting we're going to set up for the Board of Selectmen on Monday just to make sure we're posted in case something needs to be voted on. Then we'll have our member input, public input if we have any, and then we'll adjourn. And so that's kind of where we're at. A lot has changed over the last few weeks, last few months, really. I think Littleton is pushing forward with some really smart conservative financial policies, and with that, I'm going to let Cheryl kind of take over a little bit and discuss some of the updates that she has regarding the state of our finances. So please, Cheryl.
Thank you, Gary. So as Gary had mentioned, a lot has gone on, and we have had the pleasure of kind of talking about them for the past few weeks. Seems like every Monday, but Since the budget was initially approved back in February, we've made some substantial changes. We continue to monitor the economic environment and to ensure that, Littleton is in a good place financially as we move forward. And that was a result of some of the recommendations that you all have been privy to up to this point. Bi-weekly, we report out where we're at with expenses and revenues to your committee as well as the Board of Selectmen. To date, we've expended around $60,000 on COVID-related expenses. We are submitting to FEMA for reimbursement for those expenses. It's a fairly lengthy process and fairly convoluted process. Myself and Kim in the fire department are handling that. And it's complex because it's such a long project. It's not a 1-week snowstorm. But we are pursuing any and all avenues to receive reimbursement for them. I also received on Friday afternoon, I had a call with the Director of Accounts for the Division of Local Services, as they had put out some new guidance regarding the monthly budget. And in that discussion with her, they indicated that the local municipalities should be receiving funding in the next 3 weeks or so from that initial CARES Act. So it went from the federal government to the state, and then the state's going to disperse it out to the local governments. The DESE is also releasing funding for the schools, which is separate from the CARES Act. And they'll be receiving that money relatively soon, and that is to help with any additional expenses they might have as well to open up school. So we should be seeing some, funding coming in relatively shortly.
Cheryl, just kind of jumping on that, I'm not sure if you're going to talk about it, but we talked earlier this week, and you had some information regarding free cash, being able to access certain things that historically we believed we couldn't access, but this year we might have certain flexibilities to do so.
Right. Yeah. So thank you, Gary. So to expand upon that, part of the whole legislation for the monthly budget was the ability to utilize free cash beyond June 30th. And initially, the way that it had initially been worded, once we had town meeting, then the free cash certification would go away, which is normally how it occurs. But they're giving us additional flexibility to utilize free cash until we set the tax rate or until we certify it again. So if we have a abbreviated town meeting, say in June, and then we have another town meeting in October, we can use free cash in June and in October. So we have a little bit more access to our free cash than we typically would have.
When you say use it, though, you're talking about appropriating it still for things through a town meeting process, not that it's for some reason we're short on cash and you actually need access to cash.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be appropriated through town meeting still, but historically, once you had town meeting, then that authorization would go away. Now they're effectively allowing us to extend that authorization until we do the tax rate.
And that happens when, again, in the fall?
November.
So, and how much money is that? How much money are we talking?
Well, in totality, our free cash was certified at 7.8 million.
That's what I thought. Okay. So that's another savings account, if you will, then that we have available. Well, except we still have to appropriate it. It's not quite the same as the emergency, but
Right.
But that is more. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
So that was really great news to hear that we have that flexibility to us.
Okay. Any questions on any of that? Anyone? You want to talk a little bit about the S&P rating? That was a big deal. I know our board knows, but just so the public be aware and kind of what that means maybe a little bit.
Sure.
Because we kind of, we've had a pretty decent rating for a while. And I think people just get used to it, and we just kind of throw it around. But there's a lot behind it. And if you could talk a little bit about why we are where we are, what was defined by those individuals that participated in the rating.
Absolutely. So as Gary mentioned, because we wanted to go out to bond and do a borrowing for the library, because of what's going on in the economy, S&P required a ratings call. Typically, you wouldn't always have a ratings call just to go out to bond, but because of the changing environment, they were requiring it. And so we had that call last Monday. It was myself, Steve Venuti, Nina Nazarian, and Joe Layden were on that call with two of the S&P analysts. We received, prior to the call, I think it was 3 pages of questions that they wanted us to go over. And then they asked things off the cuff. So it was a fairly extensive review. They focused a lot on actually, what have we done to change our budget since COVID? How are we monitoring our COVID expenses? How are we going to end the fiscal year this year? They want to know what we're putting into reserves and the stabilization funds, as well as just Littleton's general economy. And so, we walked out of that, unsure because of what's been going on. Local municipality and government bonds had a negative outlook. And in fact, when we received our affirmation that we're staying as a AAA community, there were some other communities that actually ended up seeing a reduction in their rating or changed to a negative outlook. And the town of Littleton did not have that. So, that's a really huge compliment to the town and all of you in Finance Committee and the dedication to really stick to your financial policies and your plans. Some of the things that they mentioned was just the strong economy in Littleton, strong management, strong financial policies, good budgetary performance, strong budgetary flexibility with available fund balances, speaking to your point about the free cash, strong debt and contingent liability profile, and we got a strong institutional framework score as well too.
So I think we're seeing some of those communities, their ratings slip a little bit, and we probably had even more besides COVID. If we all understand what we went through last summer. And one of the reasons why Cheryl's on board is some of the things that went on with our previous finance director, which could have seriously jeopardized this rating. And that was something. And then when COVID happened, I was like, oh boy, this could be an interesting year. But this really is a testament to staying the course on, what this team and, what Cheryl and Steve and everybody involved has done just within the last year, and that we continue to do as a committee. It's a testament to really getting things done and making sure that we're financially healthy. So thank all you guys.
And just to add to that too, again, people here know, but for the public, this is not just a nice thing to have a feather in your cap.
No.
This is going to save us, what Steve said, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the bond. So this is significant. It's really, really a big deal.
It is.
Yeah, if you're translating it, what does that mean for Littleton?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at. Sure, anytime we borrow, we are getting the best rates. We're getting, potentially saving hundreds of thousands here. Yeah.
So. And I will also say too, given the current environment that we're in, communities that do not have high ratings, such as Littleton, will have difficulty borrowing and bonding as well too. And conversely, they're going to be clamoring for the communities like Littleton. So aside from the dollar savings that we receive, it also allows us to actually be able to bond, and some communities won't be able to.
Great. Any questions on the report? Everybody, it's good news story.
It
During
was,
all of this, it
Yeah.
sure is. So,
yeah, it
It's nice.
was. I was sweating that one a little bit.
Isn't our OPEB in really good shape too? Aren't we in good shape there?
that was
We
part
are,
of the thing, right?
yeah. We are relative to other communities. They still always, in Massachusetts, I think pretty much every Massachusetts community, they always ding everyone a little bit because the OPEB liability is so big just generally. But we are certainly ahead of the game on that, as well as pension too. Your
Yeah.
funded, your ratio there. So, yeah.
Great. All right, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about that 1/12 budget scenario and what that means. I know some people might not know why that's on the agenda. What is the 1/12 budget scenario, and how it affects the business of the town in the event we have a situation where we cannot get together as a community and vote our budget for 2021. So if you would, Cheryl, just kind of go, if you could explain a little bit on how that directly affects things that are in the pipeline or some of these things that we know are specific to Littleton that are on the horizon that would affect us probably most greatly. And then we can talk about the smaller things maybe we could probably bridge to, we could meet in November or whenever, but
Right.
July or yeah.
So the 1/12 budget is effectively a monthly budget, and what they would, if we don't have the chance to vote an operating budget before June 30th, then we need to submit monthly budgets for every department. And they'll have to put together a budget for July, a budget for August, a budget for September. They'll have to have that voted by their, representative committees and then voted on by you as well. Actually, I think it's just Board of Selectmen, but I would assume that you'd probably want to vote on that as well too. And then it has to be submitted to the state, and then the state will approve it, and then we can operate under that monthly budget. So what that means or what the impacts of that would be is that there's no funding available for capital. And so it's just an operating budget. And so something like the police station, for example, and the repairs that need to occur or they would like to occur before December, they wouldn't be able to start that process. If we have any major expenses or something breaks, we're just limited to the FY20's Finance Committee Reserve Fund, which was only $150,000. So we don't have much flexibility as far as if we have, issues that arise. We won't have, obviously we don't have access to free cash or stabilization funds until we have a town meeting. So while we have that money sitting there, we can't actually use it. There is the potential that it could push back the tax rate setting process as well too, because if we don't, until we have a voted appropriated budget, I can't close the books. Until I close the books, we can't do all the tax rate recap and the tax setting process. So what that would mean is that there's the potential for, if we don't do that in the fall and we have to push that back, residents will receive fairly large tax bills in the fourth quarter because there'll be preliminary tax bills up to that point.
Can I ask, is this a new thing that they put in place because of COVID, or has it always been there for towns to have this, for whatever reason, have this flexibility to do this?
No, it was specific legislation because of COVID.
Yeah, and the 1/12, just to make so everyone understands, it's 1/12 of our 2020.
Right.
It's not money that we've just voted on. So we're literally living off an old budget, which in itself is not as fruitful typically for the departments. And what we didn't completely mention is any and all FTEs are frozen, and we can't hire anyone either. So,
Yeah, that would make sense.
yeah.
Right. So the HR administrator and the police officer would not be able to be hired.
Yeah. And then, you know, and not to just, not to make it sound like it's less than all of that, but Cheryl, your work and your team's work, it affects it exponentially for what you have to provide. Yeah, the whole network. So
That would be an understatement.
I was thinking that. It's like, oh man, that's no fun at all.
And it's
What
not
that
just
means
me.
essentially
Yeah.
is that we got to hold a town meeting, right?
right. Yeah.
Get the town meeting done.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously, anytime you attend these meetings and you watch some of the other meetings on TV, it's first and foremost is safety for, you know, what's going to happen. The one thing that, if you would say we're blessed, we historically, for those that have been around a while and even not a while, that if there isn't a hotbed item, you know, when we had the library, when we had alumni and some of these items that really drew people out, you were really concerned about space, let alone any type of pandemic. But if I think the numbers would be to an extent so low that I think they're going to be able to do it safely. I know that the town clerk and the moderator, they've been really measuring out different scenarios, potentially using classrooms. So if you had a chance to watch any of those meetings, I feel pretty confident that they're going to come up with a scenario where individuals can feel safe if they want to come out to a historically low town meeting anyway, based on when we're just, it always surprises me how low these town meetings can be. And those of you guys that maybe sat through the vote, even the library vote, or alumni too, as soon as that vote hit, the place vacuumed out and we still had, you know, $40 million of budget to talk about. So, but that being said, I think if we just keep the safety of people in mind, that's probably what's most important. And then if people feel like they can't come out, even if we keep prolonging this, I think the town's got some decisions to make. Well, you know, we have to hold town meeting eventually.
Is there any minimum number of people that have to be there for it to count?
No.
No?
Isn't that crazy?
There's no quorum
There's
requirement.
no quorum.
So 3.
Okay, 'cause I think
You
the
get a
number's really
2/3 vote
low.
with 3 people, right?
If it's inside, there's a lot of people that won't come for sure, and they shouldn't come.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's because it's anyway.
Yeah, it's
But I know they're doing the best they can. But yeah,
and I'm gonna say this probably, against some people's wishes, but I would say that if it's not safe for you to come to an area where there's going to be a lot of people, regardless inside or outside, this is probably the year not to come. Take a leap of faith that our committee, the finance team and the Board of Selectmen are doing their due diligence to get us through this, and attend these meetings right up to town meeting if you want your voice heard, because I think it's important. But we're doing the best we can, and I just think the community needs to know that going forward, that we understand there's a lot of conversation going on where it should be, how it should be done. But at the end of the day, it's going to be some type of a leap of faith regarding this. So, but anyway.
I have a question about the 1/12 budget scenario. How does that impact capital, or does it?
We can't vote capital. So there'll be no capital.
So we can't vote capital. What about capital items that have been previously voted? Thinking library. I mean, isn't there an impact going forward with that? Would that fall into this 1/12 budget scenario or no?
Well, so the impact, if you've already voted the capital item, then it's already voted.
It's already voted.
The issue though, actually, that you bring up with the library that you'll see is that there is an article for the library to repurpose some of the design authorization money. I think it was the 1.5 million, because they don't need the full 1.5 and they want to repurpose that authorization for the actual building. So if we don't have town meeting, they can't repurpose that. I don't know if that will have any impact on the library building and construction, but that in that scenario, they wouldn't be able to repurpose that 1.5 million.
Right. Good question.
Just one more question on the 1/12. So there's no jiggering about we want to use this is what we want our budget to be or not be for a month. You're just going to take 1/12 of the last year's budget, and that's what your department gets. Is that true?
No, that's not
No.
true.
Okay.
So it's actually they call it 1/12, but it's technically a monthly budget. And so, and the reason why it's not just 1/12 is, you know, we have a lot of costs that we pay in July.
Yeah.
You know, we have bills for the pension obligation, we have debt. We have a number of contracts that different departments, they actually pay in the first few months of the fiscal year for the whole year. And so that's actually part of the time-consuming process,
right?
Is that they have to go through every single line of their budget and see what they spend in what months and try and estimate what they're going to need in July. Because if they don't put it in for that budget in July, they cannot spend it. They cannot go over what the Board of Selectmen and the state authorize us for.
So would you envision, I guess this is depending on what the town meeting decision is, but would you envision just doing July and then deal with the next month and the next month, or you do 3 months out and then, yeah, okay.
Yeah, just because once you start building it, I think it'd be easier for people just to build upon it. And so how it would work then is the Board of Selectmen would vote in one meeting. They could vote all three. They would vote them individually.
Mm-hmm.
And approve each, you know, month of July, month of August, month of September, but they could in one meeting vote all three. Then, but I only submit one to the state. You know, I still submit them monthly, but at least they don't have to go through that process. But it applies. Oh, good.
Would there be any concerns about managing the budget? So if use easy numbers, let's just say you have $1 budget or $12 budget for the year, but you need 6 of it up front, and then you're going to have to manage that on a monthly basis. And what happens if selectmen approve a different number? Does that throw the whole budget out of whack because you're doing it on a monthly basis? Am I off the reservation?
Oh, you mean, yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we don't get into a situation where, you know, you're talking the eventual FY21 approved budget is different than.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing it monthly, who's to say, well, I need this now, so I'm going to put more in now, and then you're light on the back end and adjustments have to be made.
I'm going to really hope that we don't get into that situation. They have to, so the state is, you know, they're not going to allow anything that they don't deem reasonable either. So it's not like I can in July say, all right, here's 50% of FY20 just to cover us, because that wouldn't be deemed reasonable to them.
But the other side of that is though that we're recategorizing some things, right, to get them in the right place. So
Yeah.
Greg's got a good point, right? Can mess some of that up.
It's definitely, it's going to be.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll have a town meeting before then, so it's for all kinds of reasons we don't go there, right?
Right.
That's a good point though, Greg. I hadn't thought of that.
But Munis does have oh, go ahead.
I'm just thinking out loud again here off the cuff, but I got to think that will be a nightmare to manage and to keep track of.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're doing it every month. Yeah. So we really need to, the bottom line is we really need to have town meetings so that we can get the budget approved.
Right.
I think so.
Agree.
Maybe we need to go to, this is like one for the selectmen, I think, is the, instead of having certain towns, they just have town meeting reps.
Yep.
So there's only
Oh,
2
goodness.
people in the room.
Oh, goodness. No, it was funny. I saw, I'll bring up a joke. I don't even think it was really a joke. Somebody was serious, but if we still had drive-ins or use like the Tewksbury drive-in, I don't even know if that's still there. Everybody can attend in their car, 1 honk for yes, 2 honks for no. I mean, we could get, but anyway.
What happens if someone honks 3 times?
Yeah, we got to start over.
You don't want to know.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that before we get into, I think next I want to talk quickly about the finance committee report. I think is important. And I really appreciate Betsy and Cheryl putting a lot into this. Betsy, I think you together this thought. I think it's a great product. I think it really kind of catches the year that we've just had and the look forward. And no, I think it's ready. I think it's ready to go. So if anybody wants to talk a little bit about it, and this will be on the front or second page of the town.
I forgot to send it out. I did make a couple of tweaks to it, but it's mostly just wording changes and so on.
Okay.
So I don't know how we have to deal with that, but I can send that updated version out to everybody. But it's just
Numbers obviously we're waiting on to put in here,
right.
but
That's true too, right?
we want those to be real numbers when it has to go to press.
XXX doesn't work yet, right?
But what I was really after is if anybody had something they really wanted to put in here to capture something that was important to the town, that you had the ability to do that. So,
Or if you're uncomfortable with the things that we said, the way it was worded or
definitely.
anything, I mean, please, and
You
speak
did
up.
a nice job with it, Betsy. It's a good shell.
Yeah,
Like I said, just got to tidy it up a little bit with the numbers. And I noticed a couple of the wordsmithing things in there when I looked at it. So address those, then
Yep.
yeah, I'm good with it. Good job.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you.
we probably have to have a vote on this. Do we wait for till Monday, or we can do it now? I think just
You
voting.
need the real numbers or not?
I don't think you do.
I need to send it to Nina by this Thursday, so.
oh, yes.
We need to vote it then.
So it's really, if we could have a motion, someone do a motion, and I will talk a little bit about motions tonight before we even do that. Some of you weren't on. When we do get into the warrants and we're voting them, we need you to just say your name and yes or no, not yay or nay. It's just the way that we have to do it. So when we go through it, it's each person individually. I'll ask maybe each individual just to make it easy, and that way you can just say yes.
So we're doing a roll call vote for everything.
All roll call. Yeah, thank you, Greg. The easy way to say it, but it's just as long as as long as we're identifying Greg, Champney, you tell me how you yes or no. So, okay. So really we just need a motion for this as written with grammatical corrections aside and the real budget numbers in here, the actuals. We want that to be as close as possible, obviously, to print date before they go in here. We do that every year though. So,
So moved.
okay. It's been moved. Can it be seconded, please?
Second,
Second. Good. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Greg,
Yes.
Alan McCrae,
Yes.
Tom,
yes.
Alan number 2,
Yes.
and I go yes. And Betsy?
Betsy's a yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. That passes. So that piece of work is done. Thank you again. And let's see. All right. So the next on the agenda is really the meat of this meeting. It's the warrant article recommendations. And I think Cheryl will be doing some screen sharing. But before we get into it, there's two things that we can probably talk about before we get into the discussion relevant to the police station, because we did receive some information from Steve more recently. And I think we probably should talk a little bit about Park and Rec for those of you that have watched a few of the last calls or on the last few, just to see how that potentially might have an effect on any concerns we have regarding the budget 2021. So Cheryl, if we could, I guess, summarize, it was quite a document that we received today from PMBC. We knew what we were looking at is we already appropriated the 500,000 is what we were expecting. It looks like it's going to be about $300,000 more plus a little bit. Today we received some information from PMBC, I guess, that said what besides looking at, all the color pictures and the work that needed to be done, it really specified some of the details. So,
Right. And so, just to bring everyone up to speed, so there's been a cost estimate that's been prepared by CBI. There was an alternate 2 case that they're not considering, which, had some non-emergency repair work on it. Included in all of this is money for design costs and construction. It's to Gary's point, it's a fairly lengthy document, and goes into, there's a number of, there's masonry work that needs to occur on the building. The encasing of the windows were never properly, I'm not a construction person, but properly lashed, and so all of the windows need replacing, and to Gary's point, it's fairly extensive work that's as of right now estimated to be well over $300,000, in addition to the $500,000. So there's significant repair work that needs to happen there. And in speaking with Steve Moore too, as well, they really want to try and get this work done before December, because if we head into another winter, they're afraid that the damage will just worsen at the police station.
How we ended up here too, right? They were pouring concrete when it was too cold out or something.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very possibly, right?
Yeah.
So Cheryl,
So-
but that being said, the sound of that sounds like, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to hold our vote when we last met with the Board of Selectmen, because we like to get things done at once. Let's just get it done and knock it out. I kind of backtracked a little bit after talking with Steve Moore, and the timeline might actually work out for a special town meeting for the other money to be appropriate, and it'll work out fine.
Right.
So I think he seems very comfortable with that line of thinking.
Yeah.
Meaning what? I don't want to follow that. You mean wait till the fall?
For the additional.
For the additional.
So we run with the 500,000 right now. That work probably isn't going to start until September.
He said October, November.
Yeah. So we'll already have a town meeting by then, a special town meeting, and we'll be able to have probably even a really better idea and be able to vote on that additional monies at that time.
But aren't we running into the same issue? I mean, if they're going to start on this in September, October, we're going to be getting into winter months.
Yeah, but it sounded like that part of it that would be affected by weather would be the part they do, right? In the initial,
Right.
It would be the more of the cosmetics, the indoor stuff, and some of the other work indoors that would be
Okay.
use that other money for. So
Right.
that was,
And so will $500,000 get the exterior buttoned up and tight and taken care of before it starts to get cold?
that's what was presented to me. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. I
Yeah.
think so.
So
And in speaking with Steve Moore kind of about their timeline, he said that they probably won't, if we have a June 15th town meeting and we appropriate the money, the 500,000, then they'll start putting all the documents together to go out to bid. And because there's so much going on too, we don't really have a clear sense of what those bids are going to come back. And so to appropriate an estimate now, didn't really seem reasonable. And it won't be until Labor Day till they get the proposals back. And it won't be until October, November until they're actually picking somebody and starting the work. And so he felt that the fall town meeting actually lined up really well to, at that point, figure out what the actual true dollar numbers they'll need to do the whole project.
So are we thinking give them 500 now and then whatever the balance is, it's special?
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
phases?
Yeah. Because they need some money now to, well, not now, but they need the money now to hire the firm to get all the bid documents together and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes sense. But anybody concerned about, you know, hey, we commit 500 grand, so we're pot committed here, using poker terms. And now it comes back at another $500,000. Anybody concerned about that?
I think
You know,
everybody
we're
should
thinking
be.
it's gonna be 800, but it could be,
Yeah.
you know, this could be a money pit.
Yeah.
I'm more
I-
concerned about, is there any way that we can build in some assurances that this repair project is not going to end up 5 years down the road in the same kind of condition we've got now? Do we have any kind of insurance or assurance or bonding or anything that protects us in that way?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into, I dug into this when it first happened. I was really interested in getting into the insurance side, why insurance couldn't cover it. And it looked like there were some decisions made after we had the builder, the contractor come back in, and tidy it up, I guess you will. That would be the last, it was basically a signed and sealed.
Here's the release.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we got stuck. When that was signed, all liabilities, we basically signed it away.
We signed it away.
Lesson learned, I guess.
So in this phase going forward, then we're going to be doing something different.
Well, as a Fincom, we don't have much say in it, but I would argue that we can have say in it just as citizens of the town, for sure, that don't, those type of things, where you're trying to hold a contractor accountable, then, well, their attorney can show you a document that says we released that. And then you go to the insurance companies, and the insurance company saying, no, it's due to the construction to be done a certain way, not completely correctly. So then you're stuck because their insurance company is not going to pay you either. So it's almost like a catch-22 for us as a town. But yeah, I think we
going
definitely need to
forward-
look at it.
Yeah, but going forward, we would follow under the same warranties of any workmanship that would be done. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we let the developer off the hook with the last go around, but
Yeah.
this next round of whatever is being done still has warranty with it, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point, Greg. Yeah.
Well, what you want to do is you want to get that extended out.
Yeah.
You want to say, all right, you got to warranty this thing for 5 years or something.
Yep.
Now, whether they do that, or maybe they build that into their cost.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe there wasn't someone overseeing the project, like an engineer or
Yeah. I agree with you. It's fascinating that a brand new building looks pretty, would have this many problems. All you can do is relate it to your own home. If you had a new home built and you were 5 years in and you had issues, and then 10 years in and you can't use insurance and you can't go back to the contractor. So,
right.
yeah. So that all being said, besides that part of it, you're right. We need assurances, and I think we can hold, PMBC, stay with them, and also with the selectmen, just letting them, they're very well aware of this. They're being briefed on this well at the same time. So this real question is just how we're going to finance this piece of it for this go around, right? What that looks like. And like I said, last week I wasn't comfortable necessarily with the two-pronged approach, but I am a little more comfortable now because the special town meeting is literally going to fall probably right in the middle of this project. So
And is Steve staying involved with this? Is he a key player on PMBC on this?
Yeah.
yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also makes me feel better, right?
Yeah.
Not anything against any of the other ones, but we know Steve and we know how he approaches things. So
Yeah, and I think we relied on him heavy, to get this information to us, what he provided us today. And he's he's quite comfortable with that scenario as well.
Mhm.
So I do value that for sure when we're making the decision on potentially, Greg, $1 million if this thing, but hopefully all this pre-work and they've identified what actually absolutely needs to be done, and they're not going to find something inside the wall. I think that's already, they
That's
dug
been
down
done.
in there.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
this is going to be what it is, and this will get fixed.
I'll say this, it started out as a $300,000 estimate. Now we're,
Yeah.
2.5 times that. So
Yeah.
it's getting to the point where do we know what we're looking at here? And are we going to open up Pandora's box when we start getting into this project? I've seen a lot of construction projects go that way. So,
But what else can you do though, Greg? I mean,
there's not much else you can. No, you're absolutely right, Betsy. There's not much else we can do. We're kind of stuck here.
So there's a benefit.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There is a benefit to doing it in these two little pieces, if you will, because we know that the project is probably going to be more than 500,000. And if we right now, if we were to vote on 850,000 just to be safe, what do you think the bids are going to be?
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
So here
You're
we
right.
are. We can really scrutinize this next piece and maybe make sure that number is much closer to where it needs to be. So I don't know. There may be some light in this that we can appreciate. But your first point, Greg, is what I worry about more, because the town meeting's being pushed, the schedule gets pushed, and we could be in a cold weather situation potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, it's always a risk pouring concrete, any type of mortar work in the middle of winter.
Right. So hopefully we're done with it.
Depending how the economy goes, construction costs could be less in the fall too than they are now. I hope not. I hope it all comes back fast, but you don't know, right?
Yeah, you don't know.
It's true.
Betsy, we got prevailing wage. They're not going down.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mr.
That's the
Pacheco
wild
took
card
care of that.
So, vote how you will on that. That we don't need a vote specific before the warrants, but just realize that's part of the overall capital that we're voting on this evening. The outside of the warrant would be the discussion of the park and rec. I don't know, Cheryl, if you've had any more meetings than what we've seen with the Board of Selectmen, or if there's been any more discussion. It sounded like, could you refresh my memory that this first, what was it, January to now, they have a little 300,000 plus shortfall?
Correct.
Is that the right number?
Right.
So I wanted to bring that up tonight because I think it's important that we really push to get involved as this grows into the summer. Because I can do the math just like you can. If this were to go on a year and nothing changed, we would be in over $1 million that we have an enterprise fund that can't fund itself. Just so you know, we typically, and a lot of you probably already do, we typically finance, the town finances 2 positions, and that's it, I believe, correct? The director
And their benefits.
in the benefits, of course,
Yeah.
and everything else is funded from the enterprise. So we just got to be, that's one of those things that's just kind of hanging out there on us that, boy, that could be dangerous really quick to our financial health if we're not careful and we don't become engaged with what's going on there. So any ideas you have on that, I think it's going to be critical that we stay maybe, like I had mentioned before. I know, Betsy, you attend the meetings sometimes, correct?
I was just going to say, I went to a couple of the earlier ones. I didn't go to the latest one.
Yeah.
And I will say a couple things. That 300,000 includes some commitments that they had already made. So contracts they had signed and so on. So that wouldn't necessarily be 4 times that going forward.
Good.
Because if they knew they're shut down, then they're not going to have it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they are also talking to the state because they're not, every Park and Rec enterprise fund is in the same position in the state. So what are they going to do? And seeing if there's any help or guidance or whatever of how best to approach this. So, and their board, Oh, I just went blank on what the chair's name is. Anyway, they're also on board, and they're being very realistic about the business side of this and the funding of it, and what do we have to do. But they're Park and Rec is, I mean, they're in a tough spot like everybody else. They have no idea. Can they run Camp Hatton One or not?
Right.
And if so, can they do it in a way that, well, I mean, you can look at it one thing, can it be profitable? But the other side is something you kind of need to run if they can, because people in the town need it to get back to
Yep.
work.
Yeah.
They're tough calls to make.
Yeah.
So, and I think they're looking at all those things. I mean, that would be my message. I don't have any of the answers, and I don't know how it's going to play out, but I would say that they are looking at those things.
Yeah. No, I know they're being proactive, and they're thinking outside the box. I've seen a lot of their social media trying to be creative with financing and how they can do these payment systems and things like that, to assist people and how they can pay for this.
Right.
It's
But
just,
the
I think,
PMT is kind of their funding mechanism for a lot of the stuff that they do throughout the year. And
yeah.
if it happens at all, it probably is not going to be profitable. I'd have to believe it's going to be, they're going to be lucky to get by. Would you agree with that, Cheryl? I mean, the numbers just aren't going to be there, and they're not going to be able to have the same staffing ratios and all those other things that they're used to, and the programs that they're used to having, and so on.
Yeah. So
Yeah, as a customer, I've got concerns putting my son into the program, and we signed up for it back in February. We've already paid for it.
Yep.
And we're not sure what we're going to do.
Right.
Still here.
yeah, so that's just something I think we're going to have to maybe have them attend, if maybe, or just get updates from you, Betsy, as much as we can, even if we have them attend quarterly and letting us know what their projection is. But the summer is the big one, right? So, but having to absorb anything out of the ordinary is a lot right now.
Right.
It's outside of our trying to run the towns, the municipal side, to have to absorb the impact of an enterprise that is coming up with a greater and greater shortfall could be an issue that we have to get in front of. So,
Cheryl, do you know if they were able to get a refund, or if they think they're going to get a refund on the deposit for the water park? I mean, that was one big discussion. They had to put a huge deposit down on their trip to Water Country or whatever it is, and they weren't sure whether they're going to get that back or not.
I haven't, so they paid for it on the credit card, so I have not seen the refund come back onto the credit card yet. So, nor have they.
It was like tens of thousands of dollars, right? Was it like?
There's a couple grand.
Oh, I thought it was way more than that.
Water Country?
Yeah, the water park when they go at the end of the year.
The deposit.
We were talking about a couple $1,000s given that. So, okay, well, anyway, let's go.
I haven't seen it come through yet, nor have I received. I know they were going to try and get it, and I haven't heard anything yet at this point.
Anyway.
okay. Anything else on that? We did have a little good news in all of this, right? Can I go back to that? What was it?
AAA.
All right. And we're all healthy, so
That's right.
all right. Let's get into the warrants, and we can talk. I don't know the first. So it's an interesting, quite a few on here, but a lot of them are finance or budget related. So I'm doing a little screen sharing for us. All right.
Nice looking beard, by the way, Gary. It's coming nicely, huh?
I don't know. It's my COVID beard. There's no way this will last my wife's scrutiny much longer. So,
keep it for Christmas on you, be Santa.
I know. That's what I was trying for. Thank you. So just to let you know, if you see something in here that's not right, we do have the ability to mark it up right on screen, believe it or not. If there's something not spelled right that you guys catch, or we can fix it. All right, so Cheryl, I'll let you kind of guide us, and then we can either. What do you think? Have we in the past? Have we voted these all at once at the end, or have we?
No,
we do
Individually.
Oh, we have to this year. What am I saying? Okay, so we'll do these individually. Roll call. So let's look at the first vote here. The first article is
Article 3. So this is the standard bills of a prior year. article, and we had a few bills. One was from 2019 for $18.82 for Bay State Waterworks. Two bills, one was from 18, one was from 19, was actually for police details. The highway owes the police for $2,678. And then the last bill is a bill that the town owes to LELWD for $83.03.
All right. Any discussion on this?
Move that we approve Article 3.
Second,
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Could I have a roll call vote? Get everybody here. Okay. Greg,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
yes,
Alan McCrae,
Yes.
Betsy Poling,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary is a yes. All right. Let's move
Okay.
on to the next one. It's unanimous. It's a little for television. We're kind of jumping back and forth, so that when we do our roll call, they can actually see us roll call it.
So the next article is Article 4, which is the operating budget. And this is the operating budget based off the last scenario that was voted on at the Board of Selectmen meeting last Monday. So all the adjustments that we made have been incorporated into this new operating budget. So it's to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $48,327,094. $547,816 is coming from free cash, and the resulting is coming from a mixture of raise and appropriate and transfers in from other funds. So do you want me to slowly scroll through the
Yeah, I mean,
article?
we've looked at it. I think I'd like you to read this line by line, if you would. I'm just kidding. No, hopefully we've all had
Funny Santa.
had a
I
chance
was
to
gonna
look
take
at
a break.
this. Right. So yes, please just scroll, and if your eyes catch something on this document, I mean, I have a paper one that I was able to look at beforehand, so I hope all you were, to see if there's anything that jumps out that, or you might already have circled on your own, that you had a interest in discussing. I mean, it's only 48 million plus, right?
Boy, next year we're gonna hit the big 5-0, aren't we?
I know it. We're getting big.
Wow.
Population 10,000.
And to think we were at one of those, Gary, you and I were at one of those finance meetings, and the town, I don't remember the name, but it was out in the western part of the state. They had like a $5 million operating budget.
Yeah, those days have sailed. All right. So does anybody have any discussion on this Article 4? $48,874,910 would be the town's net operating budget as it stands today. Unless something changes in the next few days, this will be Board of Selectmen will vote on this on Monday.
And this includes the scenario that we talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I guess you would call it 5, scenario 5, or A, or whatever.
Yeah.
The last one that the school committee agreed on as well. They voted on theirs, and this is what's in that. And this does have the financing for one police officer and the HR administrator, if you're looking at from an FTE standpoint, because we know that that's the biggest effect on a budget. So.
And the Fincom reserve next year will be how much?
It's a little over 300,000.
Yeah, and I think that's critical, and I think we've clamored about that probably for a while. I think it's going to be, especially this year and even years going forward, I think that's going to be a much better way for us to manage some of these things that come up in town, just to manage the money, I think, a little bit more effectively and efficiently.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Anybody? All right. Could I have a motion to approve Article 5, correct? Or is that Article 4?
Four.
Article 4,
We're recommending it though, right? Not approving it?
thank
Although
you.
technically we approved it, but I don't, do we need to do both? Where are we on this?
If we recommend it, that means we've
We
approved it.
recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're recommending that the town approves it, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
It
both our
gets
boards.
approved at town meeting. We're making the recommendation
Right.
to approve it at town meeting.
Yeah. So can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Greg, okay. Second, can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor, let's go around. Greg,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan McCray,
Yes,
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
Gary's yes. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Unanimous on that too. What's our next article for finance? Is it? That's the big article, by the way. We're done with that.
So the next one is the CPC, but no, CPC Article 5, the transfer of 45,000 from the Newtown Hill cell tower funds to the CPC Open Space Reserve.
This is something that we do periodically. In the past, we've done it. I don't know if it's every year or if it's every other. I can't remember now, but it's to help get the matching dollars.
Right.
That's right, Greg. Thank you.
Well, and cell tower dollars were, if I remember correct, going way back when it was first started, the funds were to be used for acquiring open space.
Right.
So this is just kind of putting it in a different bucket so we can make more money on it.
Betsy, did you have something?
No, it was basically the same thing. This has been designated as for open space for a long time, and so
Yep.
CPC is the logical way to do it at this point anyway, right?
Yes. Okay. All right. If we don't have any more of the discussion, we will do a roll call vote for Article 5.
I do have one question
Sure.
before we go to roll call. Sorry, making you bounce around here.
No, this is fine.
Do we have any feel for what kind of matching dollars we're going to see for CPA dollars?
Yeah, not much.
Like 10 cents?
It's down again. I know that.
Yeah, I know. It's been going down. I mean, I remember back in the day, it was well over a dollar for dollar match. At one point, it was like $1.25 for a dollar or something crazy like that. As more towns got into it, it kept creeping down.
Yeah, and I don't know, Cheryl, did we get? I can't remember the presentation. It was the last Board of Selectmen. I can't remember what the number was.
Yeah, it was right before that, actually, we received word from the state that the match is only going to be 11%.
There you go.
Originally we had to actually amend the CPC budget because we had thought the state match would come in at 80,000, which was a little, historically kind of where it's been coming in. But now it's only going to be 30,000.
Yeah.
Well, it's still free money.
It is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Greg. All right, could I have a motion, please, for Article 5, the appropriation into Blended Community Preservation Act Fund?
I move to approve Article 5.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor, roll call. Greg,
Greg's yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan McCray,
yes,
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
And Gary's a yes. All right, it's unanimous. Next article.
So the next article is using some of our free cash and transferring it to a new trust fund that would be dedicated to the tax relief for elders and the disabled. This money, $149,614.88, was the amount of money that we received in insurance proceeds from the claim that they put forth related to what happened with the previous finance director.
Okay.
Oh,
Right, so that's an
Wow.
article. That's a good explanation of it. Thank you, Cheryl. So this is an article you wouldn't see on here every year.
Right.
So, are any
um,
questions?
who's administering this fund?
Elder and Human Services.
Okay, so
I'm not sure. It's the trustee. Oops. Oh,
Go ahead.
geez. I just paused screen sharing somehow. I have no idea how.
We still see it.
Oh, do you? I can't see it. I have
there
no
you go.
idea what just
All right.
happened.
We're back up. We're back.
So it's under the trustees. So the trustees that oversee the trust funds for all the other trust funds would be part of this administration. It was actually this was a Steve Venuti brainchild.
Okay, so
This-
Elder and Human
doesn't this-
Services will be responsible for dispersing the funds. So
Yeah.
Doesn't this align with one of the selectmen's goals as well? That they have some sort of relief for
Shred.
taxes.
Right.
In there. Okay.
It's right. And we have money. We have I can't remember the exact dollars, but there's money in our operating budget that we appropriate for this purpose as well too.
Okay, so this is an addition.
Correct.
And is it going to the same people managing it, or is it different?
Well, it's different in that it's in a trust fund. So there's a little, there's more oversight as far as disbursement of the funds versus
Because the
an operating.
selectmen, in the operating budget, don't the selectmen manage it?
Right, exactly. So in this case, it would be the trustees of the trust fund.
So it's running independent of what the selectmen are doing then under their goals. Okay, that makes sense. Kind of the same. We got no buckets to work from for a family or elderly folks that really need it. So
Mhm.
that's good.
Any other discussion on Article 6? All right. Could I have a motion for Article 6, the use of insurance proceeds, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the undesignated fund balance to TRED?
So
Motion to approve Article 6.
All right. It's been moved.
Seconded.
we would recommend.
Recommend. Thank you. Correct me every time because I'll continue to do it. It's been moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Greg,
Greg's yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan McCrae,
Oh, yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's a yes. It's unanimous. All right. I think we're on to Article 7.
I have a question. I see Alan McCrae in here twice. Are you in twice? I see your name and then I see your picture.
I'm getting 2 votes.
Okay.
We're on to you.
So Article 7 is really more so a formality. I think it was last annual town meeting you rescinded the borrowing authorization for Alumni Field and the fire station, and so we were able to close the capital articles out. However, because a significant portion of them came from free cash, in order for it to fall back to free cash, we needed this article on there to also transfer the actual funds back into undesignated fund balance. So the articles were closed out, but this was a kind of another piece of the authorization that needed to occur to transfer it back to free cash.
So
So we
this is money that wasn't spent?
Correct.
Yes.
And so it's $181,140.53 for Alumni Field and $185,589.67 for the fire station that we, or unused funds.
We like the word refund or under under budget is even a better word.
Right.
Okay. Any
Hopefully
discussion?
The police station won't take all that, right?
Yeah.
How do
So
you say
just
no to this?
right. Just out of curiosity, were these overdue to come off? How long do we typically hang on to these? I mean,
Well, so I think in looking at your policies, typically for typical capital articles, it's 5 years. And then at
Okay.
that point, we go through and, see if they still need and then close them out. With something like that, because it's a much bigger project, I don't know that there's a set time frame with something like a fire station or a Alumni Field.
right. Okay.
Because, there's always kind of little incidental things that tend to occur sometime.
But I was going to say it hasn't been 5 years, has it? Or did it go by that fast? Goodness.
I don't think so, but they said the projects were closed out and they were done, and
Done is done. All right. Could I get a motion to recommend transfer to the undesignated fund from the alumni capital article and from the fire station capital article to the undesignated fund?
What's the article
Moved.
number again?
Article 7.
7.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
And it's seconded. Thank you. All those in favor, roll call. Greg,
Greg, yes.
Alan McCray,
Alan, yes.
Tom Perrell,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy Bowling,
That's a yes.
and Gary Wilson's a yes. All right, on to the next. So Article 8, I think, is one, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
I just had an unstable connection error. Okay, we look okay though.
So Article 8 is the article I was mentioning previously, and that's to amend the appropriation for the library building project design as adopted and allow the approved 1.5 million for design, which is no longer needed to complete design work, to instead be expended to pay for the actual construction of the library.
So my question here is the price of the project going to come down or is it going up?
So how we did it was that the recent what I think it's tomorrow is when we're going out to bid on the bond for the library. So we reduced that bond, this initial bond, by the 1.5. Yes.
So the whole project's going to come down by $1.5 million then. Instead of being 14.5, it's going to be 13.
No, it's still the same.
Right.
Still the same cost. It's just because the authorization was specific in that it was 1.5 for design. They want to change the authorization, but the total cost of the project is still the total cost.
So that means the price of the building's going up. If they didn't need the 1.5 for design, they need the 1.5 for the building. So the cost of the building's going up.
Yeah, that would be a safe assumption.
Is it that, or is it they don't have to borrow less?
No, we're still borrowing the same. It's just the authorization and the purpose of the borrowing.
Question to
was-
me is, why didn't they need the 1.5 million? They thought they needed 1.5 million that they didn't need? What's with that?
Pot committed. Everybody, oh, we've got $1.5 million into this project. We gotta fund the rest of it. Sounds like a shell game to me. But, my question is, you know, if this was the 14.5 inclusive of the $1.5 million design?
Yes.
It was. And they didn't need any of that for design?
I'm not really sure how they I am unsure as to how they funded all of it. I'm fairly certain they've used some of it, but they're not going to need the rest of it. And so at this point, they have to change the authority on it in order for us to bond. Otherwise, that bond is sitting out there for design that we'll never spend.
Yeah. Greg, I want to think, I don't remember the number, but they did use quite a bit of this money. I just can't remember what the design cost was.
I can't either off the top of my head, but
So the bottom line is it didn't get used. So,
right.
All of it didn't get used, but some of it did.
right.
Yes.
Correct.
So it'd be helpful to know. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, a couple hundred grand that they didn't use, well, that's no big deal. But if it's $1 million that they didn't use, why do they need it in the construction?
Yeah. I think because the slope site was so unpredictable, that's all I can think is that I remember there was a lot of discussion of that and it sounds like it didn't cost as much as they thought it was going to get the design done there. But like I said, without them in the room here to ask, I mean, this is one of those we can hold off if you'd like till Monday to get more information on
Yeah,
it.
maybe we get more information
Yeah.
on it.
You want to do that?
I would prefer to understand.
For that kind of money, I'd like to have some more.
Yeah, that's a good, fair enough. And
So
if
it
Sher-
looks like, I was just going to say, so far they've expended 721,000 on the
Okay.
project.
Half.
so half of it.
So
Yeah.
half, yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to know why they need that other $750,000 to put it in the building. I mean, are they just putting nice to haves in there, or do they really need it?
It's possible that that's the case. I know that there was a lot of things they cut back on.
Yeah.
And this is going to allow, you know, because they saved on design, now they can put some of those things they wanted, some of the little upgrades and things in the building itself. But let's find out for sure, and we can.
Yeah.
Let's hold off till Monday on 8. I'll circle that one.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
It's Article 9, a finance article. Yes. It is.
So Article 9 is a transfer of $2,250 from undesignated fund balance to the Littleton Electric Department. As part of the Green Communities Project, Littleton Electric was working with Littleton as well as Boxborough, and we ended up receiving Green Communities money that should have went to the electric department because of the work they were doing for another community. And this was, I think, in FY18 is when this happened. And so we received revenue that should have went to the light department.
Okay.
No brainer.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, can I just ask something? Again, this is, it's okay, never mind. That's good. $2,200. At the first I was looking at it, was $22 million. I don't have that in the wrong place for 2 years and nobody said anything.
Yeah, right.
2 glasses, Betsy.
That's
Move that we recommend Article 9.
No one wants to go home. Quit asking questions. All right, I get it.
It's been moved and seconded. We have a roll call vote. Greg,
Yes.
Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes,
Betsy,
Yes.
Gary's a yes. All right. Unanimous. On to Article 10, revolving funds, I believe.
Correct. So this is the standard Article 10 is the revolving funds and just authorizing the spending limits in the revolving funds that the town of Littleton has. The other thing that I do want to point out is it's also authorizing a revolving fund for the Elder and Human Services, which has been in practice, but needs authorization by town meeting.
Okay. So
Where are
that will
those
just be.
funds coming from?
Yeah.
Cheryl,
I'm sorry?
the funds for that revolving fund, what's the funding source for it?
Oh, it's the fees that they pay for their recreation programs.
Okay. So we're not talking about a big revolving
Yeah.
fund.
No.
If there's no other discussion, could I have a motion to recommend?
So
Article
moved.
10. Thank you. I have a second.
Second?
Thank you. All right, roll call. Greg,
Greg's yes.
Alan McRae,
Alan, yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ellen Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's a yes. Thank you. Article 11 is a Board of Water Commissioners. Let's see. This is a bigger one. That's right.
So this is the FY 2021 Water Enterprise Operating Budget. Total budget of $4,140,672.
Marginal increase.
Yeah.
Will we recommend Article 11?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. We will do a roll call vote. Greg,
Greg's yes.
yes. Alan McRae,
Alan, yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ellen Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
Gary's yes. Thank you.
I do think the water department should come and talk to us though about their budget because they didn't come on the Saturday meeting and they don't come at all, and they should.
But it's only like a 1.4% increase. It's not very much money.
The historical commission comes and talks to us for $50,000 or $5,000.
That's a fair statement, Betsy.
Fair statement. Yeah.
I'll definitely, let's work this year to get them, and we can work around their schedule. We meet monthly. We can definitely make it work. Thank you.
So Article
12.
12 is the Sewer Enterprise Fund operating budget in $141,550.
So do we know what that's, it looks like salaries and wages and expenses. Do we have any detail? Is this the start of it, or is this just kind of gearing things up?
Yeah, it's really just the start of it. I mean, they've had so it's an apportionment of the salaries of the individuals that actually have already been working on the sewer project. So there's a percentage of their salaries that are charged to the Sewer Enterprise Fund as they're trying to, figure out whether this, what the sewer system might look like and how is it gonna work. And then, they manage the town's, sewer system. And so it's expenses related to the town buildings that they manage.
So this isn't a net increase. It's just a movement of the dollars?
Right. So this typically was in the waste management line on the operating budget.
Okay.
And that's where which is, we still have it in the operating budget, and it's just a transfer in from our fund over to the Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Got it.
All right. Any other discussion?
So, never mind. Just let it go.
Oh, go ahead. Betsy.
Yeah, so now it raises the question, is there any sewer costs in the water department's budget? But of course, we didn't get any discussion with them, so we don't know, right?
But, yeah,
I guess it would be. The idea is that it's here instead of in the water department's budget.
Right. Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so this just leads more to what you said, Betsy. You know, with the sewer enterprise now we're definitely going to have to be a little bit more closely working with the water department on this, because it definitely is a project that crosses many many budgets. So, but regardless, we'll definitely get them in for a presentation, probably early in the year, I think, and then obviously during budget season. So
I'll reinforce that interest that we have with Nick and the crew over there.
thank you, Alan. Yeah. So if we're comfortable with that transfer from the general, could I have a motion to recommend?
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
It's been seconded. Roll call vote. Greg,
Greg's yes.
Alan McRae,
Yes.
Tom Perrell,
yes.
Alan Bell,
yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Gary's yes. Thank you. All right.
The next one is the Article 13, which is the transfer from undesignated fund balance to the Park and Recreation Enterprise Fund to cover their FY20 deficit. Right now, the article reads up to 465,000, because we won't know that exact number until we get close to the year end.
Yeah, so I have a feeling we're going to be voting this, if the number matters, which it does. We might be voting this on the floor, if you will, like we have to do sometimes. Is that right? Betsy,
Yeah.
Tom, anyone? Alan, is that, do we typically?
I would
Yeah, the day of.
recommend we save this to our meeting just before town meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Then we'll know all the numbers.
Yeah. And then if
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think we get close enough to, or we have town meeting in the middle of June, we should know at that point what this number is going to be, right?
right?
Cheryl?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like the open checkbook to say, oh, it's up to 465,000. And then it turns out to be 464,000. So they look good.
Yep. We've done this before. No, we've held, and
I'd
then
rather have the number.
if a citizen wants to ask why hasn't FinCom recommended this, we can say we wanted to wait and we voted on the floor and we recommended or not recommended. Why? We'll be good.
Because the bottom line is, I mean, if we say no, we don't want to vote on it all. You know, if we vote it down, you know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to vote it down. It's just, we want to, I mean, in my opinion anyway, I want to put a hard number versus
Oh, I agree with you.
number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
What was the number that Alicia gave us initially? Was it
I think-
3 something?
I thought it was
Yeah.
3 something.
Something, Tom.
Yeah.
So they built in a little cushion here, which you can understand.
Yeah,
So the 465 is if they have to cancel and refund all their summer camp registrations.
Sure.
Oh.
so we'll wait until town meeting to vote?
Yeah. Unless we
I
have,
think that's what we should do. Yeah.
All right,
unless that, and I'm not sure if they're attending the meeting on Monday, if they have some information that really looks locked tight, then maybe we could vote then, but
They won't
yeah,
have
we'll
it.
put it off.
I'll
They
have
won't have
it.
it.
No, I know. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So that was our Article 13. Now we're voting more Park and Rec, correct?
Correct. So Article 14 is their FY21 Park and Rec Enterprise Fund operating budget. Total operating budget, $1,186,648.
Cheryl, could this number change as well? I mean, if camp is canceled, couldn't that impact these numbers?
It could, and so the reasoning why right now we're continuing with the original authorization is that, yes, it could certainly impact these numbers, and, you know, they'll certainly manage based off that. But if for some reason suddenly we're in August or July and they have word that they can open things up, they won't have, if they don't have the authorization to spend basically up to this budget number, they won't be able to recoup some of their revenue.
Yeah,
And
this
so-
was explained. I think they gave a good presentation explaining why they wanted the number to be the top number that they were originally going to be funded. And that's exactly why what if they don't want to have to come back to us and say, well, everything's great, we need to get back to business, but we don't have enough money to operate now. So this is probably the way to do it, unless somebody has a better, has an objection to some another strategy. But I think it's, after watching the presentation they gave, it looked like it was pretty solid on why they're doing it this way. And it makes sense for sure.
I agree.
Okay.
Recommend approval of this article?
Second,
All right. Article 14's been moved and seconded. Could I have a roll call vote? Greg?
Thanks, yes.
Alan McRae?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Alan Bell?
yes.
Betsy?
Betsy's yes.
And Gary's yes. All right. Moving right along here. A lot of money in these articles.
It's only money.
It's only money.
Yeah, I had to throw that out there for Fred.
That's right.
I was gonna say, that was an honor of Fred.
So Article 15 is the FY21 LCTV budget. Total budget for LCTV is $309,667. This is a receipts reserved for appropriation account. Therefore, they receive revenue in that supports their budget from Comcast and.
Yep.
and the fund.
It's a yearly.
Their whole budget.
Recommend approval, Article 15.
Yeah, I got a question.
Second.
Maybe Alan. Yeah, I got a question for Alan, and maybe he knows the answer to this. Because I have some insight into the cable industry, and they're doing so well right now with all this COVID stuff. Will that trickle down to us next year? We get more. Is like a revenue share? Is that kind of how this works, or is it more
Yeah.
based on just a fee that we get?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you were asking.
It's 5% of the total franchise is the franchise fee. Great.
Yes,
It's 5%.
5%.
Is that
under the
Kirby?
current
Is that
contract.
Kirby chiming in? Wow,
Good evening.
public input.
That's an echo.
I was looking behind me in my room. I didn't know where.
Like, where did that come from? That didn't sound like. Well, thank you. So this number then should go up next year based on what's happening in that industry right now, because that industry is busier than busy, and
Oh,
people
sir.
are obviously stuck home watching TV all day. So I would think that number would go up for us next year.
Yeah.
Well, it may or it may not. The latest industry numbers that come out is that they're holding their own, but mostly through broadband, not necessarily the cable. And we get 5% of the cable funding, but not broadband. So it may not go up.
I'm tied pretty closely to the industry, and I'm seeing what's going on. I have a feeling it's going to go up.
Mr.
At
Chair,
least if this COVID thing keeps going, it will.
Sure.
'Cause they're
Good. I'm
Very
with
busy.
you.
yeah, very busy. So hopefully,
Chair,
I'm trying to find a silver lining here to find more money for you. That's all.
Okay, I'll buy into it.
Did we have Kirby? Did you have a comment?
yeah, real quick, Greg, That's a very rosy picture until you start looking at the FCC and what it's trying to do to gut the franchise fees by taking out in-kind services.
Okay, so maybe you won't. So the cable company gets rich and we get nothing.
That's correct, sir. We're
There
also
we go.
trying to track the over-the-top streaming services. There's a legislation in the state that's trying to get more revenues back to the town.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for that update. All right, if there's no further discussion, it has been moved by Alan McCray.
Second.
Yeah,
Seconded. All right. Let's have a roll call vote. To Greg,
Greg's a yes.
Alan McCray,
Alan is yes.
Tom Perrell,
yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. All right. Article 16.
So Article 16 is the FY21 capital funds. Do you want me to go through the items?
I think we're pretty familiar with this. We've done a lot of work on this one too. Things to note, I think that it might have moved a little bit. Obviously, the ambulance, we've brought the funding down. I think it's a good thing to continue to make this part of our plan going ahead. Hopefully it can grow into all vehicles. We start to maybe create some type of a stabilization account for vehicle purchases since they're getting more and more expensive. But is there anything on here that anyone needs to call out that I think
So we're separating out for this town meeting, the 500 as opposed to the additional 300. We're going to leave that till later for the police station.
Yeah, I think sounds like it would. This is where we would vote on that decision for sure. If that's what everybody here, vote how you will, but I think that that sounded like a pretty sound plan from PMBC. A little bit clearer picture than it was last week. So I became personally more comfortable with it, but I would understand also the mindset of let's just get this all done now and fund it up front. But I think the timeline since town meeting got pushed a month, it really is starting to line up with that special town meeting. So that's kind of where I fall on it. Any other discussion though on all those capital? It's definitely a trimmed version. It's a weird thing to look at when one item is taking up such a massive amount of the capital, but
Yeah.
Usually we have a lot more in capital than $1 million.
yeah.
It's just less than half of what we usually have.
Yeah. So we'll see how that affects us going forward, but all right. If any more discussion, if not, could I have a motion to recommend
So moved.
the article? It has been moved,
Second.
seconded. All right, Greg, roll call.
Greg's yes.
Yes, Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. Thank you. Here comes CPC. All right.
Okay, so Article 17 is the FY21 CPC budget. This is representative of the percentages that they had voted for spending. Do you want me to go through each line or?
I think we can see this is a smaller slide. The Tehadawon land, I think what came out of that meeting, are they using some of this money? Did they commit to using some of this?
No, not yet.
Not yet. They haven't voted to. I think there was discussion that some of this will be used. It's going to be a blended. It sounds like if this ends up happening, we're going to do some borrowing. It sounds like Sudbury Valley Trust is going to pay for the estimate or on something. I forget.
Some application fees or
They are.
some what do they call it? Land value kind of things that they have to get to apply for some grants, I think.
Grants. Thought we were going down that road with grants.
Mhm.
So that's so all that's still open, but regardless, this is kind of the annual breakdown. I think the presentation we saw last week really defined why the monies kind of shift a little bit year to year on what buckets they're going to go in. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
I do have a couple quick questions on this. Cheryl, if you know, number 2 and number 3, how much longer do we have on each of those debt services?
Sure, actually can pull that up for you right now. That is,
What was
It's a
the
while though, I think.
it's FY, so the YAP debt is FY 29, Cobb is FY 31, and Williams is FY 28. Well, I don't have Houghton on here actually for some reason, so I apologize, I don't know that.
What was that? The roof?
That was a roof,
Was
yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Roof and some window sills or something or other.
Yeah.
I
That one
thought,
should be coming up sooner than later.
I would think so.
It's been a while.
but the other
Yeah.
ones are 28, 29, 31.
Wow, we got a lot of debt coming off in a short amount of time. Then that's good. Meaning they're all coming off pretty close to the same time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, as far as CPC debt service goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks good. I don't have any questions unless somebody else. So that is Article 17, Community Preservation Budget.
We recommend Article 17.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Greg, roll call. Yes. Alan McRae.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Alan Bell.
Yes.
Betsy.
It's easy, yes.
Gary's yes. Perfect. Moving on. We're in the Conservation Commission, or open space budget, right?
Correct. So Article 18 is the Oak Hill Cell Tower money, 7,500 to be expended by the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. There's no.
So is this, I mean, it's not a lot of money here, but is this being used for, it says conservation land purposes. Are they acquiring land or are they doing some sort of maintenance?
Maintenance, yeah, project, yeah, more maintenance and things like that.
And is that in line with what the cell tower funds were to be used for? I thought it was for land purchases, not land maintenance necessarily.
It's my understanding, actually, they had legal look into this one specific one for a special town meeting. And that it's basically for any conservation purpose.
Okay.
But isn't that other article, the 45,000, isn't that other cell tower money? That's going to open space through CPC?
Correct.
Yeah, but it's being used for open space.
Yeah,
Right.
This is being used not necessarily to acquire land.
no, right, no, that's,
Right.
no, right.
It's being used for conservation
Signage.
purposes. I just,
Right. It could be a lot of things.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was in line with what, it sounds like we've vetted it legally and we're good, so.
Yeah.
Just no further discussion. Could I have a recommendation to move?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second,
And seconded. Greg, roll
Yes.
call. Alan McRae.
Yes.
Tom Perrell.
Yes.
Alan Bell.
Yes.
Betsy.
that's yes.
And Gary's yes. Thank you. All right. Article 19. This is,
Do you vote on this usually?
I don't think, do we do the personal bylaw? This is the grid.
No.
We don't
No.
typically
I
vote
don't
on the
think
grid.
that's us.
The Personnel Board votes on it, and then the Board of Selectmen, I believe, are the two.
So Nina has highlighted you as a committee that votes on this, but if you don't, then.
Yeah, I think interesting thing is this does deal with
Finances.
Folks, I'll be
increase.
right back.
Sure, Tom. So this does deal with annual step increases. Is that correct?
So it's the cost of living and the step increase.
So because I know this obviously has to be on here every year. I'm just trying to think if is there ever a situation, let me put it this way, is there ever a situation where we would freeze this? Alan McRae, you're looking more like Bill Belichick there with your dog. No, I guess the question is, if we don't typically vote on this, do we need to start voting on it? If it's an article that we could theoretically not support, say if we did not support an increase to the grid, because I'm thinking ahead now in a disastrous scenario, a pandemic, right, where we had to think of something else, all efforts to stop anything but furloughs and laying people off. This would probably be something that would fall before that happens. So is this something where we would have the ability to freeze this? And is this contractual, or is this just the non-contract CBA employees?
This is just non-contract, non-CBA employees.
Okay, so this is something we should probably vote on, in my opinion. I don't know. Somebody might have a lot more history on this. Is there ever been a situation where the employees did not get what the CBA said that their employees were going to get?
No,
There hasn't
there's not been a situation like that. However, the personnel board, that grid all came about because the townhouse employees many years ago were getting zero while all the union
There you go.
contracts were giving cost of living raises.
Okay.
So that's how this whole thing came about. But no, there's never been a chance when that's been recommended and the finance committee or the selectmen said no.
Okay.
Gary,
Yeah,
I wouldn't like, I mean, if I'm going to vote on that, I would want to know more about it, right?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put it out there. And I'm more thinking of it, like I said, if there was a situation where the town was so affected financially, which I don't think we are. I think we're in a pretty good standing, a very good standing, that, like I said, before we said to employees X that you are going to be furloughed, would we address it by freezing salaries, where we would then vote, no, we do not support this because of the financial outlook. We can't support an increase this year across the board. Is that a scenario that could ever happen? I don't,
It could happen this year. If there's any year that it could happen, it could be this year, right?
Well, probably next year or the year after, right? This year, for
Yeah.
sure not.
Yeah.
I just think,
Yeah, you're right.
so maybe we don't vote on it. This is just something we'll continue. But if there came a situation where we felt like we couldn't support it, we could explain why, if that was something that happened. And I'm saying, that would only be a case where if we were faced with laying somebody off, I'm sure an employee would want to keep their job as opposed to being laid off or furloughed. So, but let's just keep it as a non-vote for this year then, if everybody agrees.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we at? Article 20?
Yep.
That's stabilization, right?
That's right. So Article 20 is, as we had recommended, to put an additional 900,000 into general stabilization. So Article 20 is moving 1,050,000 from undesignated fund balance to the general stabilization fund.
Yep. And we all are well aware how valuable this is to have. So
One question I would have, or just a confirmation is, so this puts us above what the policies say we have to have 5% or whatever the number is, right? And this puts us above that. So
Correct.
if everything's rosy the rest of the year and so on, it could be next year we have to put less in because we funded it already, right?
That's correct.
So it's not it's gone forever. If we
Yeah,
don't
that's-
use it, it's actually still available to us next year.
Right,
Basically.
exactly. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
and I personally don't take lightly moving the $900,000 over there. I mean, that wasn't a decision that we would normally make ever. When we're designating money to pay down, the library, we're strictly keeping it into that. But these are like we talked about, these are extenuating circumstances where having flexibility with that stabilization, having it in that stabilization gives us more flexibility with it. So that's the only reason where this could happen, the perfect storm, right? But I fully expect that money to be used for the library. I think we just have to commit ourselves as a board to doing that, making those recommendations going forward. That's all. Because it's definitely financially smart, as we know, to pay that some of that debt up front where we don't have to get hit by the interest.
Well, we're gonna have troubled waters here in fiscal 24. So if we're staying ahead of the curve a little bit, we can back off a little bit in 24 if we need to.
Agreed. So,
I think it was a very, very shrewd fiscal move to do this year.
So-
It gives us all kinds of flexibility without really taking much away from us. So I think it's very smart.
all right. If there's no other discussion, could I have a motion to recommend Article 20?
So moved.
It's been moved
Second,
and seconded. Greg, roll call.
Greg's yes.
Yes. Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. Thank you. Now we're going to capital stabilization, Article 21.
So Article 21 is transferring $1,378,548 from undesignated fund balance into the capital stabilization fund.
Yeah, that's any questions on that? This is per financial policy, so
Mhm.
that's what it is. All right. If no discussion, could I have a recommendation to move Article 21?
So moved.
All right. It's been moved, seconded. Roll call, Greg,
Greg's yes.
Alan McCray,
Alan, yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. Thank you. Article 22. This is a debt exclusion fund. What are we doing here? Article 22. Here we go. It's coming.
So Article 22 is, utilizing per the plan, the debt exclusion stabilization fund to reduce the cost of the debt that was previously excluded by Prop 2.5. And this is utilizing up to $64,203.80 to help pay for excluded debt service.
Yep. If there's no discussion, could I have a move to recommend Article 22?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Greg, a roll call.
Greg's yes.
Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. Thank you. Article 23.
So Article 23 is the Senior Citizen and Veterans Tax Work-Off Abatement Program that we have in the town of Littleton. And that's taking from the overlay account from abatements, 80,000 for senior citizens for the program and 7,000 for veterans.
Cheryl, is that continuing now through COVID? What's happening with all that?
Well, so no, I mean, they're not obviously coming in, they're not working.
Right.
But that being said, they had all fulfilled their hours already anyway.
Okay.
The program was fully funded and completed for FY '20.
So if we go into 21 and this, God forbid, this thing lingers, I hope it doesn't linger any longer than it does. But if it goes through the year, will they be able to do any type of work off, or is it, do we know?
I think it's hard to say, you know.
Yeah, I'll probably have to abstain from this because I do utilize this program through the veterans. I work with the schools. So what's interesting is if we don't have gymnasiums and basketball games and all these other things, these people won't be doing the things that they would normally do to work off any of this tax. So that would be where it would be mostly affected. But so I don't know what to think of this really going forward.
You go ahead and fund it the same way we funded Park and Rec.
Good point, Alan. Yeah.
If things work out, we need the money.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I will abstain on my go around. So if I could have a motion to recommend the article.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Greg, roll call.
Greg's yes.
Alan McRae.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Alan Bell.
Yes.
Betsy.
Betsy's yes.
I'll abstain. Thank you. Okay. Looks like we don't vote on 24. That's a form-based code article. Where do we have anything left?
I don't think so, actually.
We have Article 26 is a replacement of Cedar Hill water tank borrowing article.
What's that one?
What's this one, actually?
That's specific.
Yeah, hey, Cheryl, if I read that right, it looks like we're in there to approve the zoning, which we shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it looks like they have you on 25 too, which is the renaming of the Board of
That has
Selectmen.
no financial impact.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so they skip it.
Yeah.
26 is a borrowing article, so that one is interesting, but so that probably.
Yeah, that does involve money.
You're right. I just want to make sure that it's money that we.
Chair, I noticed that Nick Lawler has raised his hand. I'm
Sure,
not sure if at this point you want to let him.
Yeah, this would be a good time to let him come into the panel.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Nick.
Good evening, Nick.
How's it going?
All right.
What, a borrowing authorization stumped you?
Just on it hasn't really stumped us. It's just whether we're
Sure.
You can bring us up to speed on the.
Yeah, absolutely. So that storage tank was actually due to be replaced back in the Very Fine days, right before Very Fine moved out. DEP was asking us to replace that as part of they do a sanitation survey every 3 years. Then when Very Fine moved out, we worked with the DEP and they allowed us to not have to replace that, contingent on it, a structural analysis being done on that tank every 3 years. So when we did it back then, the structural analysis showed that the tank was deteriorating, but it was still in a good enough structural situation. The engineering came back good enough on it. It was due again a couple months ago. We just redid the structural analysis on that tank, and it's starting to show signs that That tank's not long for the world. It's a tank that was built in 1950. So I think we've gotten our useful life out of that tank. And if you remember correctly, it was probably 5 years ago, we acquired the parcel of land right next to the tank to build the new tank so we can keep this tank up and going during construction. So, and this obviously will be funded through water rates, has no impact on the tax revenue. So that's the short story with the tank.
You get the benefit of our AAA rating on your rates though, right?
Yep.
Yep, I think so. Well, thank you, Nick.
No problem.
I don't think we have.
Nick, I do have one quick question for you before you go.
Yeah.
And I may have missed it. Is there any lead abatement or anything like that because the tank's so old? Is that going to help improve water quality at all?
It won't. There will be some abatement on that, but it won't help improve water quality. The lead's on the exterior, mostly on the exterior part of the tank. We don't have any lead in our water. We do extensive testing, per the DEP guidance, and also at the schools. And there had been some lead at the schools that was based on the fixtures themselves, and we work closely with them to eliminate that problem. So we're not a source of lead.
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
Awesome.
Barry? It's Alan Bell here. Now that you have Nick here on the line, did you want to revisit Article 12, or did you want to try to arrange to have a conversation with him and the board or some subset of the board between now and next week?
Yeah, so let's just see. I don't know if it's feasible. Nick, are you attending the Monday meeting with Board of Selectmen for any reason?
Yeah, Nina did ask me to join in, so I will be there on Monday night.
Okay. So perhaps we wait. What were the specific questions we had on Article 12? Did anyone, Cheryl, could you wind to that article real quick?
Sure.
If it's too lengthy, then we'll just wait till.
Just go past it.
It's, we're almost done, guys, so getting through it. Article 12 was the Article 12 I can read. It's more about the sewer enterprise fund.
Yep.
The operating budget. I think we had it pretty much discussed on the creation of that enterprise. I believe we voted on 12, did we not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we voted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. I just
We-
thought
we-
that at the time,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
there
we
was
did.
some interest in having some more detail from,
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that that article, this is what it is. We're going to see that number is going to do nothing but go up as the enterprise fund gets fully funded. Is that accurate over the next couple of years, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first year that we're going to operate under the enterprise fund. Typically, this number was carried through the town
Yep.
town budget.
Mhm.
It wasn't this high. This has a whole department behind it now. So that's why the salaries and wages are a little bit higher, because we have more personnel that
Yep.
are contributing to this department. Really, I mean, it shouldn't increase drastically until this expands into the newer sewer project, however that looks.
Okay.
This number here is to operate the existing municipal sewer system, that the 6 buildings that are connected currently to the system.
Yep.
It's that system there.
Okay.
The other comment, Gary, was just in general that, the other article with just our operating budget, we're voting to recommend it, but we haven't had any discussion about it. So
Yeah.
going forward, we really need to have the water department come in and talk about their budget before we're expected to vote on it.
Yeah, we typically come in right around this time.
Yeah, and I think having, just, Alan, you on board and attending, a couple of their meetings and kind of keeping us informed of anything that's coming down the pipeline. We know that there's a lot with PFAS and sewering, and these are some huge things. So I think it'll be a very important year for us just to be definitely engaged with the water. Make sure that we're getting ahead of anything. So
Sure.
But yeah, so thank you, Nick, and we'll just make sure that we work around schedules to make sure we can get you on a little bit more. I know this year we went by, we really didn't put you on the agenda all that much. I don't even know. I think you came in once, but regarding the budget season between December, January, and February is when we really need to sit with you guys to make sure we know what's going on. But
Yeah, typically the struggle with the water department is typically our board doesn't approve the water budget until the end of February.
Oh, okay.
Which is why we don't typically go to the Saturday meeting.
Yeah.
And it's why we'll typically come in March or April. Once it's really your schedule allows for it, because I know you guys are dealing with a lot of stuff during those months.
Okay.
So, whenever you guys need me in, just feel free to reach out to me. You can do it through Al.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to come in and talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
Sure.
All right. Getting down to the final articles here. We did
I don't think did you vote on Article 26?
We didn't vote yet, no.
We didn't vote yet.
any other discussion now that we've heard everything on that? All right. Can I have a motion to recommend?
So moved.
Motion to recommend Article 26.
And
Second.
it's been seconded. Roll call vote. Greg,
Greg's yes.
Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
and Gary, yes. All right. All right, here we are with, that was the water tank. No.
I don't know if you want to vote on 27 or not. That's to have shared municipal positions.
Now, that's more of a HR personnel
Right.
bylaw function.
Article 28 is, again, a bylaw change. So I'm assuming,
For procurement. No,
no vote on that.
No, I don't think so.
and 29 is one looks like we're going to have to vote on. Maybe. Let me see.
Right, so this is that revolving fund.
Sure.
So there's two separate areas because for authorization of it, because it's technically considered an addition or a new revolving fund.
And then it's going to be placed into the other one with the others.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we will vote on this. We've already voted on the fact that it's the funding for it. Now let's vote to put it in. So if there's no discussion, could I have a motion to recommend Article 29?
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. We'll do our roll call vote with Greg,
Greg's yes.
Alan McCray,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alan Bell,
Yes.
Betsy,
Betsy's yes.
and Gary's yes. Thank you.
Just,
Hey, we lost the
Cheryl,
other Alan McCray.
he left. It was past his bedtime.
I bet.
At
Stop.
the end of that article, Cheryl, if you look at the bottom, the line right above Finance Committee, it says Board of Water Commissioners are recommending that article.
Okay. I'll change that.
Well, maybe they are, Alan. You don't.
They're not allowed to.
That's right. They can
Point of
recommend all
order.
they want. All right. What do we have left on the warrants? Is that it for the warrants?
That's it. You're
Wow.
done.
Wow.
Get that. That's pretty impressive. All right, well, we can get down to the last few things. Thank you guys for getting through that part. I just wanted to go around and get some member input. I know it's been a while. If you guys have anything significant going on, let me start it off. Usually the chair would go last. I did want to just mention about the meeting next week. I think is just hopefully to wrap up this budget season, if you will. We'll probably meet in June once right before the town meeting. If we don't, if there's not a need to, then I'll save that meeting for the one on the floor town meeting. You know what I mean? But if there's a need to meet twice in June, then that's what we'll do that. That's not.
So what's the meeting next week?
It's Monday is the day. It's
Board of
when the Board of
Selectmen?
Selectmen are voting on
Right.
all of this. But I think up front, between now and then, if something changes, we might have to revote. So I want to have that as a place marker.
Okay.
Otherwise, we won't be able to vote before it goes to the print. We were asked to. I think. Yeah, Nina asked us to. Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I'll go with my updates after. Betsy, did you have anything for member updates? No. Alan Bell.
I'm good. Thank
Good.
you.
Tom
Good.
and Alan McCrae.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing. Greg.
Nothing, just living the dream over here.
Right. I wanted to let you guys know that my understanding is the school committee is meeting Thursday to interview candidates for the school committee for Steve Moore's previous position for the school. Their appointee to the Fincom. So hopefully we have a new member come on board.
Do we
Next
know
meeting,
how many folks they're interviewing?
I don't. I've heard of one, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's posted, so I'm assuming anyone can, ask to be appointed. But as far as I know, there's only one individual.
Alan, you won't be the new guy anymore.
That's right. And almost met.
That's short.
That, and I wanted to also reach out, just kind of say thank you to, Cheryl, Steve, the finance team, you guys. This has been probably it's a crazy, amazing year to be involved in town finance at any level, state, federal, whatever you're involved with, and plus balancing your own lives. But I also wanted to, mention, the municipal employees that we have, that this was a year we know that we looked at as kind of uplifting a little bit, getting them at least up to balance on their FTEs to help relieve some of the work burden that everybody's had. So unfortunately, without the resources, we have to wait a little bit longer. But I think that we're all committed to making sure that these employees get help, and so this will not be forgotten in the fall if we're in a better situation. We'll be right there to support and to recommend approving these FTEs. Other than that, I reached out to Fred Faulkner actually today. We talked for about a half hour or so. Just wanted his perspective with all his experience that he's had over that he's been involved in town finance. Because he did bring up, yeah. So he taught me a lot. So I wanted to kind of get his perspective on what's going on, if he had any tidbits of information. So he talked a little bit more concern, obviously, that Alan Bell, that you're going to have to deal with the things that he probably presented that you saw, regarding the town still being the largest user of the sewer, the town sewering that's coming in, and how we're going to have to deal with that number.
Yep.
Whatever that upfront cost looks like. He talked a little bit about PFAS. These are things that they were really big things coming into this until the pandemic, right? That was what the big numbers. They've been kind of pushed back. So just if I was to look at my biggest concerns budget wise, is obviously the pandemic is number one, getting through this. The town sewering is going to be a big project.
Yep.
We don't know how much, or, even though it's going to be based on users, if the town, I'll stick with what Fred said, the town's the biggest user, there's going to be a significant cost with that to the taxpayer indirectly because the town buildings are using it. If that's the way we end up going. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion of a different type of system, and we'll get into that. Hopefully the numbers come down. And then the PFAS issue, we know it's coming. When I attended the conference in Boston, I sat in on the PFAS presentation to see some towns that are really heavily affected by PFAS and what they're dealing with, and the cost is pretty significant to get rid of this thing. And the systems they have to use and filters that are crazy expensive. So if that's something that really starts to affect us, we could, see some serious money being dumped into that remediation of that. I did notice on Air's website, they're talking seriously about it. They have PFAS in their water, so they're dealing with it directly to a lot of their consumers. So it's a big issue there as well. And then lastly, the libraries would be the last big financial issue that we have. It's already been approved, but we have to be wary of it. It's going to be when it hits our books, it's going to draw us tight, and we knew it would. We just have to make sure that we continue to be good stewards in our recommendations and speak up if you guys see something that a better way of doing things that the town can make savings or whatever in processes, procedures, whatever. We're going to change. I planned on having a policy meeting with a FinCom policy board meeting, which the FinCom chair usually chairs that as well with other members. We just haven't been able to get together. The pandemic hit. So now, but I do think there's some value in relooking our financial policies to make them even better. So expect that, probably something that we need to look at over the next year. No matter who's chair, I think that's going to be something important to relook, especially after a pandemic, right? We might have to put in a whole section on state of emergency type things. So we'll see. But that's really, all I have. I think, I like I said, I can't say thank you enough to you guys getting through this. My first chair, go at chair over the season. It's been remarkably interesting to say the least, but I relied heavily on you guys. And that's really all I have. Better times are ahead. I really think so. And I want to make sure we don't have any public. There's nobody out there in the public that needs to speak, correct? Do we have no raising of hands? It looks
No.
Okay, good. So that's all I have. I look forward to seeing you guys next week and hopefully kind of get into a better normal schedule with just meeting us as a group as opposed to having to do these meetings seems like every week. But anybody else have anything?
I just wanted to give Cheryl a big kudos on
Oh, thank you.
this year's budget process.
Oh my goodness.
In the time that I've been on this committee, until COVID hit, this was the smoothest budget process.
We can't blame her for that, though, can we?
Thank you.
Great job, Cheryl.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And while we're handing out all the kudos and love here, Gary, I appreciate what you did over the last year as chair.
Thank you.
You had some challenges for sure, and you've done a nice job navigating the shoals of finance. So
Thank you.
keep up the good work. Look forward to you chairing in 2021.
it's true. You learn more through being a chair than no matter what else you do. You could be the vice chair, you could be just a member and very involved, but until you're chair, oh my goodness,
Big
you're
difference.
forced to learn everything.
Oh,
So it's been a valuable experience. So it's and the town means a lot to me. So let's keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, great job, Gary.
With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Thank you. And it's been seconded. I guess I do have to roll call this as well. Greg,
Yes.
yes. Tom, Alan McCrae,
Most definitely.
Alan Bell,
Yes, sir.
yes, Betsy,
Sarah.
and I will say yes. Thank you guys and have a great night.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good
Everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night.